those things we go through, whatever those hard times are in different forms, right? It's like, oh, wow, they actually, if we do pay attention, they can become our message, our mission, our superpower, right? But I'm putting two and two together live with you right now. And I do a lot of this in the book, but never on that one moment. And I just want to share it in case someone else out there needs to hear this right now, that if we really pay attention to everything we've gone through, and it sets us up for what we're called to do. Even when we think it's stuff we're embarrassed about or want to hide or we're ashamed of, or we're ashamed that something happened in our family or that we made a big mistake in our lives or had a big misjudgment, those things can truly, if we pay attention to them, not only help us refine our intuition, but literally turn into our superpower, right?
Yeah, I know. I love sharing that because it is easy to see waitress to billionaire, or waitress to $1 billion sale, right?
Yep.
And not having people. That's why I love you wrote this book. Listen, we've got the chance to spend a lot of time together. We've been on flights together. We've spent hours talking, my wife, our families. Yeah. And I love how you share that journey, because it doesn't matter if you're starting from where you were at Denny's with a dream. You're in the middle of, as our friend Jenna Kutcher says, the messy middle, right? Or you're on the end looking for the next level. Like the way you talk, the way you write, the way you relate is written for anyone, guys too. I mean, all of us, written in a way where it's more than hope. I think hope is we all need to have hope, but we need the ability to bounce back after rejection. Just Sunday, I flew to Las Vegas. I got invited to speak at an event. It was a virtual event in a kind of arena. And there was 32,000 people at the event, virtually all around the world. And I just asked, because there was chats all over. It was big screens and there was chats everywhere. And I said, what's the number one thing you feel in this, we have COVID and all this craziness going on in the world. What's the number one thing that's holding you back from really going forward? And I have to tell you, the number one thing coming up on the screen was rejection. I was thinking uncertainty or fear, which was huge too. Fear, not everybody uses the word uncertainty, but rejection seemed like every third one, Jamie. It was like, I'm afraid of rejection. And I think we all have this fear internally of like, what if I go for who I feel God designed me to be? Or God, like you say, the universe, but I believe in God and I believe God designed us for more. I believe, and I know you do too. I know it's easier to believe when you're on the other side, guys. I understand that. But I believe all the obstacles in your way are designed by a bigger God, the universe, what you believe, a bigger purpose, because you don't get to enjoy the fruits of your labor without paying your success tax, without being told you don't have the right body, you don't have the right look, and still walk out. I mean, I always used to use a silly analogy, like if there was a success auditor, could you imagine after 2,000 or 200 other no's, getting someone to look you in the eye 3 feet away and say, you don't look the part, it's never going to work? Could you imagine if there was a success auditor watching Jamie go out in the car and go, that's probably it for her. She's probably done. And then the next day, a little bit of self-doubt. By day 3, she's back in the game, making phone calls, pushing. Could you imagine the checkbox you'd get? Like, wow, okay, she's on her way. And I want you to think about that as you listen to Jamie. When she tells you there was hundreds of no's, she's not exaggerating. When she tells you that someone looked in her face and told you you're not the right look, not the right shape, not the right body. I mean, I can't even imagine that. And dudes don't get to experience that, right? We don't. I don't even think we could put ourselves in those shoes, down to $1,000, your husband believing you as well. You're working as partners. That's another question I want to ask, is keeping that balance in a relationship too. But the reason I love that you're putting your work out there, and you don't need to do anything, Jamie. So I honor you that you took the time and obsessed on writing this book, that you're getting it out to the world. It comes out like next week, I think. And
yay!
You have to get it out there. And so with that, if you could put this is a long question. When people are on the other side, you made the sale, I have 13 companies and all this stuff. You go, well, you're on the other side. In hindsight, I know that now it's really probably evident for you to say, at least with me, that my next level always lived on the thing I feared the most, or I was afraid to face, or the obstacle I had to overcome. Putting yourself back in those shoes with all the no's, if there was 2 or 3 things you could give someone right now who's feeling like, if I go for who I want to be, my husband might even reject me. The universe might reject me. If I put my brand out there, they might reject me. What are some of the things that allowed you to rebound from rejection?
Yeah. Oh, such a good question. I'm so excited about this because literally, if someone's struggling with rejection, this book is for you. If someone is scared to be rejected, this book is for you. And one thing to share on something you just said too, Dean, you talked about flying on the airplane, right? Like, and you, your family, all of us. I just want to share something of why I love your podcast so much, because I feel like it's so rare. So for me, whenever you and I and our group of friends and your family are on a plane, even if we're going to the same event, right? Or whatever it is, that time on the plane is like the only time just about where we're not on our phones. We're literally having the best conversations.
I know.
Like they fill my soul, right? And I feel like your podcast is that way. And I'm just having this moment where every single person in your community right now, I feel like right now we're all together, all of us on a plane, meaning like we're in one space. We can't go off and do a million other things with a million other distractions. And we're just sharing together like stories and tips. And I don't know, I'm just having a moment of gratitude I wanted to share with you and everyone in your community. So we're just going to be on a plane the rest of the plane flight all together.
Perfect.
And we'll ignore any other people on the flight. We'll just all be together
That's right.
just like share in this. So, okay, a couple things on rejection. Here's the deal. At the end of the day, I feel like so many people like talk themselves out of their own truth and talk themselves out of the person they're actually born to be. And literally, not to be like, I don't want to be a downer, but most people never become the person they're born to be because they let self-doubt, fear of rejection, other people's opinions, all that noise, like not only be so loud, but loud to the point where they can't even hear their own truth to trust it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that like for somebody right now, what's so important is to do a little bit of work in learning how to get still and actually start to learn to hear your own truth, your own knowing, your own instinct. This is a journey. It's a journey to be able to do it, right? I'm still not perfect at it, but like to make it really simple, because a lot of people will say like, oh, I haven't heard my own intuition in a long time. I don't even trust it. Or I've never heard it, right? I believe we are all born with a knowing. I don't think that there's any exception to it. I think we all have this, and it's free, by the way. We all have this knowing deep down inside. And like, you know, whether it's a woman or a man or anyone listening right now, a simple example is most of us have a friend that's lied to us, or we've dated a sketchy person who their phone breaks and they disappear overnight, or we have something's not adding up with this friend in our life. We all have that inkling, right? We kind of know, and we could choose to ignore it, and we could choose, you know what, I'm gonna keep this relationship going, or but we kind of know, right? And that's just a very basic thing. But I believe we also know if we're in the wrong job right now. I think we also know, like, do I need to start the blog? Do I need to pick up the phone and just call 50 new potential clients and drown out my own self-doubt and know that it's a gift to them if we work together? Like, we know if we really tune in, we know. But I feel like the biggest mistake is like, we don't ever learn to truly hear that.
I'm going to do a sneak peek read from a chapter of Worthy, How to Believe You Are Enough and Transform Your Life. Simple steps, life-changing results. Dedication. For the 80% of women who don't believe they're good enough. The 75% of female executives who face imposter syndrome. And the 91% of women who don't love their bodies. This book is for you. The time for change has come. Let's do this together. No girl, no woman, no person left behind. Worthy starts here. You become what you believe you're worthy of. Do you remember the first time, perhaps as a little kid, sitting in the classroom, that you knew the answer but decided not to raise your hand? With a slight pit in your stomach caused by the newly daunting awareness of other people's opinions, you debated raising your hand and going for it until you decided not to. And just like that, in a single moment, you began to live in a way that was incongruent with your soul's fullest expression. You doubted. You held back. You hid. You played it safe. You questioned whether you were wrong, even though you knew you were right. You questioned if you were smart enough. You questioned if you were enough. And now, fast forwarding to today, are you still the person who's not raising your hand when you know the answer? Are you still hiding just in case you're wrong, just in case you fail, or because you want to stay in your comfort zone of certainty? Now you're an adult who knows the answer, but inside, are you still that same little kid who doubts it? Maybe you're sitting silently in work meetings or in your daydreams, knowing you have a wild idea that just might be genius. Or are you languishing in an unhealthy friendship or relationship, knowing you're worthy of more, but not quite believing it enough to leave? Or you're the boss, but you're holding back from taking chances because deep down inside, you're afraid you're not strong enough to be a leader. Did you finally get that big break, that big promotion, that big increase, but you feel like an imposter, so you're playing it small? Maybe you really despise that other PTA mom, but you betray yourself and spend your precious free time hanging out with her. Maybe you're hustling and burned out while hiding that what you really need is rest. Maybe you're struggling with a health issue and losing faith in your body, your worth, and your creator. Do you feel unseen at your core and tell yourself the lie that life is better that way? Maybe you're working in a business, but you know you're born to run one. Maybe you're in an intimate partnership where your worthiness goes unrecognized, but you're afraid to be alone, so you're dimming your light and hiding from your truth. Maybe you're calling busyness a badge of honor when you're really using it to numb your feelings. Maybe you've been living by someone else's story of success for you because you're confusing approval with love. I've done that most of my life. Maybe you've decided that other people have already done what you can do better than you could do it, so you've been canceling yourself out of your own calling. Or maybe you've been showing up as who the world tells you to be, people-pleasing, for so long that you don't even remember who you are anymore. Self-doubt, unworthiness, and fear cause us to dim our soul's light and start playing it small, holding back, hiding, speaking only part of our truth, living only half of our life, expressing only part of our soul's true essence, craving the perception of belonging over authentic connection, craving validation and significance in a way that's defined externally, because we start to believe that these are the only paths to love, to belonging, and to worthiness. If any of these ring true for you, if you know at the deepest part of your being that you're only living as part of who you are, but you're holding back and doubting or hiding all of who you are, then you probably feel an inexplicable void in your life, an aching longing for something that's missing, an emptiness creating when others or even yourself don't know and therefore can't embrace the full authentic you. A disconnection from joy when no matter what you achieve, it doesn't bring the feeling of fulfillment you hoped it would. An unremitting feeling that you're not quite enough. A lack of feeling truly alive that you can disguise from the world with the ease of a smile. You're living your life hiding in plain sight. Okay, so maybe you're thinking like, whoa, we're going deep right off the top of the book. Yep, we're going there because your time is precious. And in this one beautiful life we each have, it's precious. And I'm not showing up to play small, especially because I'm going to ask you to show up fully in the pages to come. I wrote this book with the purest intention to give you everything I've got as an expression of love from my soul to yours. And each of us is on a journey toward believing, then truly knowing in every ounce of our being that we are fully worthy. Right? And here's the thing, y'all, exactly as we are, that's the key part. We're fully worthy exactly as we are. This is one of the most critical parts of achieving what Oprah Winfrey powerfully describes as the highest, truest expression of ourselves. And it's a huge step on the personal evolution of believing, then knowing that you, exactly as you are enough, valuable, and fully worthy of love and belonging. And you are. There's nothing that you have done or could ever do that changes that. But let's go there later, because chances are, if you're anything like I've been most of my entire life, you might not believe me just quite yet. Speaking of Oprah, and speaking of hiding in plain sight, I want to share one of the greatest moments of my life, a moment that almost didn't happen, and one that came after 4 years of me hiding because I didn't actually believe I was worthy of it. Oprah was my mentor from afar, the one I spent every weekday as a little girl, then later as an adult watching on TV. The one I dreamt of meeting my entire life and had this wild knowing deep inside that somehow I actually would. Quote, "This is what I know 100% for sure," Oprah said as she held up my first book, Believe It, to the camera. "You don't become what you want. You become what you believe." Y'all, I did everything in my power to keep my jaw from dropping open. She's holding in my book. To my jaw from dropping open, not to pee my pants, and to believe that this moment was real and was actually happening. You see, it almost didn't happen. In fact, many of the most significant moments in my life almost never happened because for years, while my soul dreamed wildly big, bold dreams and imagined moments like this one with Oprah, I never thought they could actually happen because I didn't believe I was worthy of them ever actually happening. In fact, maybe you can relate to this. I have spent most of my life feeling like I wasn't enough and doubting myself out of my own destiny. No matter how vividly we visualize our goals and dreams, perhaps in relationships or in our careers or in our health, no matter if we even take action toward making them happen, if deep down inside we actually don't feel like we're deserving or worthy of those dreams and goals, then we won't achieve them. We'll stay stuck and never go for them. We'll talk ourselves out of them. We'll give up too soon or somehow sabotage them along the way. With some, but not strong self-worth, we might actually allow ourselves to feel worthy enough to achieving a big goal and dream. But when we do, we'll arrive shortly after still feeling empty, unfulfilled, and like something is missing. Has this ever happened to you? If you've ever experienced a sense of not enoughness, even if you know it's a lie, because it is, and you want to overcome it for good, this book is for you. If not enoughness feels like, your hidden twin, then we might just be long lost triplets. If you struggle with self-doubt and not feeling worthy, even if no one knows it but you, this book is for you. And I believe that one of the bravest and most important journeys that we are all on in this lifetime is learning the truth, which is that we are more than enough, and knowing and believing it in every part of our being. If this resonates with you, I've got your book and I've got your back. See, I believe the moment you learn to trust yourself, and believe that you are worthy is the moment your entire life, the past and future generations of your family, and our entire world changes for the better. It's only when you believe you are worthy of it, whether it's of having a healthy relationship, of receiving unconditional love, of celebrating your body, of sharing your ideas, of being in the room, of being on the stage, of leading the team, of having soul-filling friendships, or of living out your biggest hopes and wildest dreams. that your greatest life and destiny start to unfold. It is truly only when you learn to believe you are worthy of it. So y'all, here's the thing. As Oprah held up my book, I tried desperately to be present and stay in my body and to focus on the thousands of people watching us live as she and I taught the class together called The Life You Want. Please help me serve at the highest level I can. I prayed over and over because I've learned over the years that having an intention that's bigger than myself is the only way to get out of my own head. Before she even held up my book, I was already struggling to believe that I was actually teaching a class with the person I consider my mentor my entire life. It was the first time that she and I had ever done anything professional together. What Oprah and I knew, which the live audience didn't know that day, is that nearly 5 years earlier, when I met her in person for the first time and we had lunch together shortly after, she gave me her personal phone number. And you want to know what I did? I didn't call her for almost 4 years. Yep, Oprah, the one person I would have done anything to meet, the person I spent thousands of afternoons as a little girl watching from my living room all alone, the person who inspired much of my career, had given me her direct cell number, and I didn't call her for 4 years. Why? Well, I thought I knew why for a long time. See, as the months, then years passed, I told myself stories that made sense. Stories like, you're not ready to call her yet. Or, everybody probably wants something from her. Play it cool so she knows you don't. Or, you don't have the perfect thing to say yet. When you do, you'll know, and then it'll be time to call her. Or if she gets to know you, this is a big one that I told myself so many times, if she gets to know you, she'll discover you're not as interesting, smart, funny, successful, cool, talented as she might think you are. Until one day, I realized the real reason I hadn't called Oprah, and I wasn't proud of it. I hadn't called her yet because deep down inside, I didn't believe I was worthy of it. I did not believe I was worthy of being her friend. Have you ever had moments like this in your life where you sabotaged an opportunity? Or didn't go for it at all because you didn't think you had what it takes? Maybe this is a reoccurrent theme for you in your life right now. And if it is, you're far from alone. I believe one of the most prevalent forms of cancel culture is one that no one talks about. It's us canceling ourselves before we even try. When I realized the real reason I hadn't called Oprah in 4 years, I felt a knowing. Feeling unworthy was not aligned with who I truly am and with the person I was created to be. See, my soul, all of our souls know. My soul knew I was worthy, but I let my thoughts and my mind's deep belief about my own unworthiness overpower my soul's knowing. Without realizing it, I was letting my feelings of unworthiness sabotage something I had dreamed of my entire life. When I had this realization almost 4 years after the day I got her number, I decided it was time to turn down the volume on my doubting mind and turn up the volume on the power of my soul and my soul's knowing. I decided to trust myself, the part that knows that I am worthy and you are too, and I dialed her number. I'll share more about this call later, but first, fast forward to May 2022, when I was teaching the class live alongside Oprah. I had been preparing tirelessly for months for this opportunity, but like all of our biggest moments in life, we've really been preparing our entire lives for them, right? Whether we know it or not. Because as Oprah teaches, and I fully believe, every step, this is important to hear, y'all, and take this in, every step, failure, victory, mishap, trauma, growth, blessing, lesson, and moment of grace has always been happening for us to prepare us so we can show up in each coming moment exactly as we're destined to. Even our setbacks are almost always setups for the path we're destined to take. As the live class began, I led the Oprah Daily audience through live exercises on how to build resilience, embrace rejection, stop hiding, and to learn to confidently step into all of who they are. Oprah and I shared stories and teachings. I was in such a state of flow that it felt like I was moving inside a space that had been divinely orchestrated. Then as Oprah held up my book again, and I tried not to fall out of my chair again, she said something that sent shockwaves that felt like truth through my body. Words that I believe capture the ultimate path so many of us are on, and even if we haven't discovered it yet. Words that capture why I wrote that book, and even more powerfully, why I wrote this one. Words I believe that if we embrace can change the course of our entire lives. She said, "You don't become what you want. You can have the greatest heart desire and work really so hard, but if you don't believe you are worthy, it will not come." That is the magic formula. In my life, I have learned to believe I'm worthy in stages, through ups and downs, big moments of knowing, and small steps toward believing. In our human experience, believing our worthiness is often a lifelong pursuit, and one of the most important ones we'll ever take. See, if I hadn't pursued building my self-worth, many of the moments in my life story so far would have never happened. The stories that the press loves to share about me usually say something like, Denny's waitress builds billion-dollar business. And while that's true, my real story is a girl who didn't believe in herself and learned how to. A girl who felt unworthy and often still does to this day, but who is hell-bent on learning to believe that she is. A girl who was placed into adoption at birth, but decided she was chosen and born not only on purpose, but with purpose. A girl who knows in her soul that at our core, we're all enough and we're all worthy of love. I'm a girl who knows that where we come from does not have to determine where we're going, and that making bad decisions in our past doesn't mean that we're bad. A girl who knows that the labels that others put on us and the ones that we put on ourselves are removable, not permanent. A girl who faced thousands of rejections for years when she was building her business, but chose to trust her gut and keep going anyways. A girl who had a knowing she'd one day meet Oprah, and then learned that we become what we believe when we finally believe in ourselves. A girl who had learned that she was worthy of being in the room, of launching a business, of being called CEO, of learning not to wait on her weight, of learning to love herself and learning to believe she's worthy of love. A girl who knows that we are not our past mistakes. We are our present and future intentions. Here's what I know to be true, and this is so important to take this in. If we don't believe we are worthy of starting the business, of being in a loving, committing relationship, of having healthy, empowering friendships, if we don't believe we're worthy of a seat at the table, of writing the book, of running for office, if we don't believe we're worthy of rest, of celebrating your body exactly as it is, of soul care, of doing less and being more. If we don't believe we're worthy of showing up on social media authentically, of leading the team, of breaking the generational cycle, if we don't believe we're worthy because we've made too many mistakes, we've already failed too many times, or because someone told us we weren't worthy and we believe them, if we don't believe we're worthy of all the things we want and deserve, we'll never get them. In life, you don't soar to the level of your hopes and dreams. You stay stuck at the level of your self-worth. You don't rise to what you believe is possible. You fall to what you believe you're worthy of. In your goals and career ambitions, you don't achieve everything that you are qualified for or capable of. You plateau at what you believe you deserve. And whether you know it or not, at the level of success where you've established your own internal identity. In your romantic relationships, the level and depth of intimacy, vulnerability, and love can only be as strong as the level and depth of vulnerable, intimate love you have for yourself. It's the same with your friendships. And in these relationships in life, okay, here's a big one, y'all. Okay. In your relationships in life, the level of pain you allow another person to cause you, whether it's through hurtful words or actions, often hovers right around the standards you have for the level and frequency of hurtful thoughts, ways, and words you think and say to yourself. And it's the same with your body. Your body can feel like a source of shame or like a miracle in motion, all depending on your relationship with worthiness. When you change what you believe you're worthy of, you change your entire life. See, we can have big goals and dreams. We can study, get knowledge, get all the biggest degrees on the wall. We can become activists, use our voices. We can know with passion and clarity that what we believe in and what we believe for. We can make vision boards, and we can even distinguish ourselves amongst the rare group of people who actually take action toward getting what we want in life. But if we don't believe deep down inside we're worthy of it, it'll never happen. Or if it does, we won't be able to sustain it. Because in life, we don't get what we want. We get and maintain what we believe we're worthy of. And when deep down inside, we don't believe we're worthy of what we want, hope, and dream for, we'll find a way to lose it or for it to not happen at all. We'll sabotage the opportunity. We'll put the decent guy in the friend zone. We'll ghost a new friend that has pure intentions. We'll make a million excuses why we're not ready to make a career move, don't have the resources or the time or the talent. We'll focus on our problems instead of our potential, because problems can be an easy way to justify playing life small. We might think we have a net worth problem, and what we really have is a self-worth problem. And when we deep down inside don't believe we're worthy of abundance, we sabotage ourselves to make sure that we don't get it. We dim our light to make others feel comfortable and fit in. We tell ourselves stories like, once I get to my goal weight, then I'll be enough. Once I get more experience, then I'll apply for the promotion. Once I get the kids through school, then I'll focus on building a healthy relationship. We'll sit in the audience watching, all while knowing we are born to be on the stage. We'll walk into the room and all while hiding in plain sight, and then we'll start living our lives this way. We'll talk ourselves out of our potential, out of our talent, out of our knowing, out of trusting ourselves, out of our gifts, out of the relationships we deserve, out of getting unstuck, out of making our health a priority, out of asking for the raise, out of launching the idea, out of accepting a mentor's offer, and if we're not careful, out of becoming the person that we're born to be. If one of these examples hits home for you, or you feel like it's a past or present version of yourself, then this book is for you. If you struggle with not believing you're enough or worthy of walking into the big meeting, of being called good parent, of wearing this swimsuit, of receiving unconditional love, of looking in the mirror and seeing everything beautiful, of speaking up, of asking for help, of resting, of setting boundaries, of showing up in this world as you authentically are and as all of who you authentically are, if you struggle with that, this book is for you. I wrote this book for you if you have some self-doubt to destroy and a destiny to fulfill. And I'm so honored to invite you into the pages of this journey together. And I'd like to start by imagining together. See, I can't help but imagine what our world would look like if it was filled with women who decided to believe they are worthy. When I imagine a world full of women who feel worthy, I imagine the earth shaking with the jolt of possibility when we wake up in the morning. Imagine with me, what would a world full of women who decided to believe they're worthy feel like? The potential that would be unleashed, the power of possibility unfolding. Imagine the generational cycles broken. Imagine the unhealthy relationships that would end. Imagine the businesses that would be launched. Imagine the body shapes and sizes that would be celebrated. Imagine the rest that would be taken without guilt. Imagine the cellulite that would be confidently jiggling with joy. Imagine the seats that would be filled up in the boardroom. Imagine what the list of Fortune 500 CEOs would look like. Imagine the mental and physical health that would be prioritized. Imagine how our government would lead. Imagine the injustices that would end. Imagine how children's storybooks would be written. Imagine who little girls would grow up dreaming of being. Imagine the time and capacity that would be freed up when self-doubt is silenced. Can I get an amen up in here? Amen. Imagine, and imagining this is why I wrote this book, with the intention of you not just imagining what your life would be like if you truly felt worthy, but actually learning how to believe you are, because you are. And in your soul, you know that you are. Most of us are born into a world or even into loving, well-intentioned families that, whether knowingly or not, teach us to believe that we're not. I believe if we choose to, it's possible to unlearn all the lies we've been taught that don't feel right in our soul, take our power back, and decide today is the day to forge a new path ahead. If you feel me, say out loud wherever you are, I'm ready.
I'm ready.
All right, everyone in the room said it, but don't think I didn't hear you at home not say it. So here's the deal. Listen, if you're not going to be bold here along with me, if you are going to hold back and not be bold, now how are you going to be bold out there, right? When things get hard. So I'm going to say it with you. We're going to say it loud together. Who cares what anyone around you right now thinks? Okay, ready? On the count of 3, we're going to say I'm ready loudly, and we're going to proclaim it together. 1, 2, 3. I'm ready. You don't become what you want. You become what you believe you're worthy of in life, in friendships, in your career, and in your hopes and dreams. And one of the greatest parts of your journey is learning to believe you're worthy and stop hiding, right? That's a big one for so many of us. Learning for the first time or the first time in a long time, the courage to start raising your hand, or to be the person who leads and encourages others to raise their hand, to discover the true essence of your soul, the real you, and to start living as the real you, not as your achievements, but your innateness that is full and whole and enough, and blossoming toward a new freedom and fulfillment that springs alive when we live in alignment with the true nature of the person we're born to be. When we absolutely know in every ounce of our being that the person who we truly are is enough. When you venture to stop hiding in plain sight, trust your inner knowing, live with congruence with your soul, ignite your purpose, and show up in this world as all of who you are, that's when you truly feel fulfilled and alive. That's when you are living in alignment with your assignment. That is when you become the person you're born to be. That's when you're able to fully live and express the joy and the beauty and the gifts and the ideas and the possibilities of your soul. That's when you can wake up every morning and ask yourself one of life's most powerful questions. What will you do with the power that is you? And then with that power fully tapped into, and because you're no longer hiding from it, you bravely, boldly live the answer. Throughout the pages of this book, I hope you'll laugh, connect, see, and be exactly you every step of the way, right? We did not come here to play it small or to look cute. We're going to go deep as you are ready to go. You might feel like this book is too much at times, or perhaps it's going to feel like you arrived at the end way too quickly. We'll examine our own self-worth and delve into the lies keeping us doubting ourselves, unlearn those lies, and embrace the truths that wake up worthiness. We'll begin our transformation into living authentically and fulfilling our destinies. There's some chapters packed with tactical tools you can apply to your life right now that have led to breakthroughs for me, like how to redefine rejection, how to rethink the labels you put on yourself, and how to take risks when you have a million reasons why you're afraid to. There's some chapters you might find deeply personal and stir up a lot of thought and emotion, and some might evoke the feeling of heavy reflection. Others might spark joyful, wide-eyed, soul-filling delight. I know how precious the gift of your time is, and I can promise you we're not taking a second of it for granted in this book. I am all in with you, right by your side, and we are going to go there together, okay? Soul to soul, light to light, love to love. The one thing I'm going to ask of you is this: in every story, every lesson, every silly laugh out loud, embarrassing overshare, there are a lot of those. Every vulnerable, soul-stirring revelation, and every deeply challenging question, to trust yourself to know if it's right for you. And if it's not right for you, or you're not right to consider it, then just skip that part. And you're going to know, because your soul will know at each turn of the book, the parts that are for you at this moment in your journey. You'll know if the timing is, not right to open yourself up in certain ways that might feel too much. And you're going to know if the timing is just right and the words feel like they were written exactly for you. You may want to have a journal or pen and paper handy while reading. And as we begin this journey together, I just want to ask that you trust yourself fully. Take the things that feel right for you and leave the rest perhaps for another day or another person you share your book with. And I sure hope that when you are done with Worthy, that you share it with another person, give another person your book. I believe in divine timing and that our steps are divinely ordered in life. And I don't believe it's a coincidence or an accident that you're hearing these words right now. Similarly, in this book, I'm leading you on an intentional journey, one transforming step at a time. Each chapter lays a key piece of the foundation that builds on the next, all crafting a deeply personal worthiness journey intended to expand how you see and unconditionally love yourself, from seeing the importance of and critical difference between self-confidence and self-worth, to unlearning those lies that lead to self-doubt and embracing the truths that wake up worthiness, to transforming your connection to yourself and multiplying your unconditional self-love, to knowing and truly believing in your innate value and worthiness. As we begin this journey, I want to invite you to come with me through the pages and it's who you truly are, not as the role you play at work, not as who you have to be when you're the leader in the room, not as who other people want you to be, not as the version of you that the world rewards, not as the socially conditioned belief systems that you've built, but as the person who sheds all of it, who is willing to show up soul first. Coming soul first, right along with me, is safe here. Knowing this truth, there is nothing you can do or say that could ever make you unworthy of love. I believe we are all here to love, to receive it, to give it, to live it, to be it. And our greatest journey on this earth is to learn how and to truly believe we're worthy of it. My intention in the pages of this book is that you experience the true feeling of home that fills your soul. And there's no greater feeling of home than living in alignment and congruence with your soul, with the true nature of who you are and who you were born to be, fully worthy. And yet, when we aren't living in the truest expression of our souls, it can feel like we're a stranger in our own lives, as if we're living our lives away from our real home. Our souls are our true home, and the words in this book are a love poem from my soul to yours. Let's live in our souls together on this journey. And as we get started, I want you to feel like I'm welcoming you right into my home. When I imagine opening my front door to see you, I will really see you. And you can really see me. And when you walk in, I'm wearing my favorite cozy sweats, no makeup, unwashed hair, and a messy bun, but I did use some dry shampoo because I knew you were coming. And I give you a great big hug while my dogs are jumping on you and kissing you as if they'd never gone through training school. I have your favorite warm drink in a coffee mug ready to greet you. The mug says worthy on it, because you are. After I hand it to you, imagine seeing a sign right in front of you on the wall as you walk in. It's how I want you to feel when you walk into my home or into my hug. The sign says, "Come as you are. Heal where you need. Blossom what you choose. Journey toward your calling. Stay as long as you like. You belong here. You are worthy. You are loved. You are love. I love you, Jamie." Are you ready to get started? Because I am ready if you are. And as you are about to turn the page, I'm imagining reaching my hand right out to yours. Here we go. I think that this is a time, again, we talk a lot about this, where we're all like, we've gone through a hard season. Robin Roberts, by the way, who was the first speaker yesterday at my event, said something so profound. And in case you missed this, I want to share it because this is huge. We were talking about getting out, like being 14 months into a tough season. And, she's had so many setbacks in her life and probably some of the most incredible victories anyone could ever imagine, right? She's won almost every award on the planet. She's wakes up, all of America every single day on Good Morning America. And she said something so profound that out of all of her accomplishments, out of everything she's gone through, the things she is most proud of, the things that fulfills her the most, that brings her the most joy, that she's most proud of, are the things she had to overcome. The things she had to overcome, not this accomplishment or that accomplishment or this outcome or this achievement. It was the stuff she had to go through and overcome. And I thought it was so profound because so many of us are in a hard season right now, or we're not seeing the traction we want in our business, or we're not all the things, right? The pandemic's been tough on a lot of families, a lot of parents. And think of all the things that we're overcoming right now, right? It doesn't mean they're fun when we're going through them, but the things we're overcoming are the things that a lot of times we end up being the most proud of. And I just thought that was amazing because we talk about feeling the day a lot. And when we think of it that way, it's like, oh, wow. Yes, I'm in the midst of a hard time, but I'm in the midst of something I'm going to overcome and I'm going to be the most proud of. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was such a powerful way to start the day yesterday. Wasn't that so good?
So good.
The stuff she
Listen, that's shared, a belief. That is a belief. And you guys should write this down. I will overcome. Someday you're going to overcome the circumstances you have right now. And you're going to be proud of yourself.
Yeah.
But you can be proud of yourself every day if you're making momentum towards that.
Yeah.
Some days you do. There's a day where you surmount the problem, right? It's over. It's done. Like you achieved it. You broke through. But the long journey to there, you have to believe in yourself and you have to trust in your ability to figure things out. And you have to be gracious with yourself. Some of you are so hard on yourself. And we see it in the Growth Day community all the time. Like, I'm this, I'm that. And it's like, be easy on yourself. Be gracious on yourself. Know that you will overcome. Just have that as a belief. Like, I'll overcome this.
Yeah.
I'll get better. I'll improve. And you will. And you'll develop greater mastery.
Now here, Shayla Atkins asked another question, which I think is so great. She's a big fan as well. And what she's interested in is, obviously you've worked very hard. It is now this incredible brand, like you said, #1 luxury cosmetic brand in the country, all of those things. But you're a mom, you're a human being, all of those things. Shayla's like, how does she stay grounded? How does she still stay true to herself? As these big things are happening for you, how do you stay grounded? How do you stay true to Jamie?
Yeah. I think that, it's been a wild journey. Like in the days where I was a waitress at Denny's, I don't know if I could have ever imagined some of the stuff that I've gone through in the past couple of years happening. I stay grounded in my faith, and I believe a couple of things. I believe all of us are on this earth not to achieve things or get significance or accomplish things. I think we're here to compete with only who the person God made us capable of becoming is. And I stay grounded in my faith, and I try to listen to that still small voice inside and trust it. And what I mean by that is a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago now, I had this huge moment, Mitch. I don't think I've ever talked about this, maybe with a friend, but and I, because I spent years building the company in our living room, and I'll never forget our first office. And we outgrew it so fast, but everyone's desks became like, if you got hired as a new employee, we would take a huge FedEx box or UPS box. That was your desk because we were out of space.
Congratulations, right?
Yes,
exactly.
Welcome to It Cosmetics. It was so scrappy for so long. And we eventually moved into bigger offices. And about a year and a half, 2 years ago, we had just moved into a 60,000 square foot office.
Wow.
I had this moment where I was sitting there, and L'Oreal acquired us in 2016, and I stayed on as CEO. And doubled the size of the company the first 2 years post acquisition, just poured my heart into it
Yeah.
because I believe in our mission. I believe in everything L'Oreal is doing and the It Cosmetics team is doing, and just poured my heart and soul. And there was this moment where I was sitting in my brand new office in looking around at what the world tells me success and significance are. It was like this corner office overlooking the skyline of Manhattan. It looks like something I grew up seeing only in movies,
Right.
with the most beautiful art everywhere. And this, like, my corner office is bigger than almost any place I've ever lived in, right? And I'm sitting there, no, really. And I'm
Yeah.
sitting there and I have a moment. I just want to share this with anyone listening. I have this moment where I feel, this is how I hear God. I feel like I'm done. Like all of a sudden it was all there, and it was a brand new office, right? And I knew if I stayed, I love the team. I love the team so much. But everything's a well-oiled machine now.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I could stay and have the glamorous parts of everything, have the big office, have all the stuff, the biggest brand in the country. And I just felt this calling, like this calling on my heart that says, you're supposed to serve in a whole different way now. And, I'd said no to writing a book for years because I didn't want to ghostwrite. I wanted to write every word myself if I was ever going to do it. And I just had this feeling like you're supposed, now that you've gotten to this spot and you have all the fancy stuff now, if you stay in that, it could come at the price of the calling on your life. And but I think a lot of people, we get tempted when stuff is what the world tells us matters.
Yeah.
And I made the decision. I sobbed my eyes out in that office. And I was just looking around at everything because I couldn't even believe how beautiful it was. This is the first time I ever stepped foot in this office. And I went in on a weekend all alone, and it was all done. My It Cosmetics assistant was there too with me. And I was just sobbing in there because I couldn't believe how beautiful it was. But I also knew in my heart that it was time to serve in a different way. And I made the decision to step away from this dream I'd built in my living room, because I have tried to live my whole life that way and I think everyone listening right now, like, it comes in all different forms for us, right? It might be like stepping into a dream, stepping away from one, start again. I used this example earlier, but starting to paint again, writing the first page of your book. Like, I feel like the most important decisions in life come down to when we trust ourselves. So anyhow, yeah, that happened. And
I love that. Thank you for being generous to share that story, because, and I think that's also such a beautiful picture. That what I love, and it's been such an honor to be, with Dream, Think, Do, we've been able to talk with so many people about their journeys. And I so appreciate you being real with us yet again, in the book and then here. But I think that's a great picture too, that, like, as we walk out dreams, it's so often that next thing, which some might say is the next dream, is revealed only as a part of the journey, right? Like, you wouldn't have gotten that had you not continued to walk out the journey. And so to be able to say, hey, isn't that part of the adventure too, of being able to say, I wonder what future journeys will be. I wonder what will be revealed as we step further into this thing. And so I'm getting goosebumps as you tell that story. So I'm so honored that you'd be here. I'm so honored you'd share that particular story. And I think it's going to so resonate with Dream, Think, Doers. So guys, we have been talking with Jamie Kern Lima.
And I love how you talk about that. And you talk about how rejection is protection. You said that, and you have a very personal story that's behind that, right?
Yes, I think this is so true. And I think that in particular for women, it's so important that we start embracing rejection. I think self-doubt kills more dreams than almost anything out there. And I think so many people probably listening to us, like at this moment, so many people know they have a dream on their heart, or they know they have something more to give or offer the world or create, or an idea they want to launch or something they want to do, but they end up letting self-doubt take over because they're scared of failure or of rejection. And, my hope and prayer, and a big part of why I wrote Believe It, is I hope to shift perspective around rejection. I hope, even though it's painful, even though it's not fun. I think when we can really embrace it and not take it personal and see it as part of our journey, because what I have learned, and I do believe to be true, is rejection is God's protection. Some people say rejection is the universe's protection. And, I have so many stories of rejection in my book, but one that stands out in particular, I think you might be referencing is, we were a couple years into building It Cosmetics. We got down to under $1,000 in our bank account, which was my personal and business bank account. I didn't know how we were going to stay alive in business. And I had been just getting hundreds of rejections from all the stores. Well, we finally got this inbound phone call from a potential investor. And I was so excited. I thought, oh my gosh, because this was a big private equity company who had invested in all these products you and I buy at the grocery store. They made them household names. And I thought, wow. And they loved our product at Cosmetics. So I thought, if they invest in us, A, I'm not going to go bankrupt. B, maybe they can use their leverage to try and get us yeses from all of these retailer stores that keep telling me no. So I thought this was going to be life-changing. And we started doing meetings with the potential investor and their whole teams. And it got down to the final meeting. And I thought it was going to change my life. I was so excited. And I'll never forget, I flew in for this final meeting. My husband was there as well. And the head guy was about 3 feet from me in person. And his whole teams were there. And they said to me, congratulations, we love your product. You should be so proud of everything you're doing with It Cosmetics. But it's a no. We're going to pass on investing in your company. And I was like, okay. And at that point, I'm so used to hearing no, right? This is a couple of years of hundreds of no's. So I said, well, can you tell me why? Can you share with me why? Because feedback is a gift. Usually. And he paused for a long time and he said, do you want me to be really honest with you? And I'm like, yes, please. And he's standing about 3 feet from me. And he says, I just don't think women will buy makeup from someone who looks like you with your body and your weight. And I remember in that moment, a couple of things, right? I got, first of all, a lifetime of self-doubt and body doubt. I felt it flood my body all at once. So I wasn't even mad at him. I felt when he was saying these words to me, it almost felt like I was staring my own fears straight in the eye and just trying to keep my faith bigger than them. But I'll never forget, there was this moment, Angie, where when he said those words to me, I just don't think women will buy makeup from someone who looks like you with your body and your weight. I got this feeling deep down in my gut, just a strong feeling of intuition that said he's wrong. He's wrong. And I felt it. And, listen, after that rejection, I went and cried. I cried in my car, all those things. But here's the thing is so many times, all of us, no matter who we are, somebody looks us in the eye and in one way or another says to us, you're not enough, or you're not the right fit, or change who you are, to get my love or to fit in or to get in my stores or to get my investment, whatever it is. And those are the moments that change our lives, because we have those decisions to make of, do I trust my gut and stick with my authentic mission, or continue showing up authentically as who I am? Or do I try to change who I am for someone else's approval? And so after that investor said those words that were really hurtful to me, although I appreciate his honesty from his perspective, 6 years later, I hadn't heard from him. 6 years later, when we were acquired by L'Oreal, it was the largest acquisition in their history. And because of that, and L'Oreal is a public company, it was on the homepages everywhere. So the Wall Street Journal homepage was like, It Cosmetics sold for $1.2 billion cash, and this whole thing. 6 years later, when that happened, I heard from that investor. I heard from him, and it was the first time in 6 years. And he said, congratulations on the L'Oreal deal. I was wrong. And two things I learned, had he invested, it would have been the most successful investment in this firm's history. But also, rejection is God's protection, right? Rejection is the universe's protection. What's amazing is, had he believed in me 6 years earlier, right, instead of rejecting me, I had no money. I was so desperate at the time, I probably would have given him the majority of the company for almost no money, right? But because he rejected me, he didn't believe in me. By the time we did sell the company, I was the largest shareholder. And so it was like, rejection is protection, even when it doesn't feel like it at the time.
Yeah, $1.2 billion and still the CEO. I mean, come on. That is such an amazing story.
I want people who are going through a tough time right now to have something practical, like a real practical tip they can take away. They just came off of 2020, which was a horrible year for many, a very challenging year. We're now into 2021. It's February. What are some tips that people can implement to make this a great year, to overcome their struggles, overcome their challenges? Just give them 3 practical little tips and takeaways of what you would recommend they do moving forward. And I think probably Believe It should be one, right? But what are the other ones?
Yeah, exactly. I didn't even think of that. But yes, get Believe It, the book. I didn't even think of that, to be honest. So I would say a couple of things. I feel like, if I were to look at 2020, right, it's a year that has been filled with so much uncertainty, more uncertainty in so many ways, tough times with families who might be divided on things. It's been a tough year, people losing their jobs, so many things happening, a year of uncertainty. And so if I look back at the year, I feel like a word that I've heard so many times now is the word pivot, right? So many people are talking about pivoting because they're needing to pivot and they're needing to figure that out, or they're forced to pivot. So one thing I just want to say that I think is so important, because I think in some ways it's a bigger risk to people's dreams or businesses as they go into 2021, as they learn to I need to pivot this way and put more of my business online, or this thing or that thing, or level up my skill set. I think all of those are important. But my worry, and maybe it's more advice, one of the things that we did right, that I think most people don't do right when they're entrepreneurs, and this is my advice for going into 2021 for everybody, is once you truly understand your own mission, your own why, not just your why, but deeper, the why behind the why, and you understand that through line of authenticity through who you are and what you're doing, it is so important that you don't get distracted by the temptation to pivot because everything's uncertain. We're all in this new territory, and it looks like this must be working for someone else, or this must be working for my competitor, or this must be working for whatever. When I look back on and do not pivot unless it aligns with your mission, because I believe pivoting can be a distraction and a temptation and a short-term thing versus a long-term win. And, being exposed to thousands and thousands of entrepreneurs now over a decade in the QVC green room, you meet everybody. The commonality between people who made it, which is 5%, and the people who were there and lasted 1 show, 2 shows, 3 shows, and they're gone, is the ones who were the same off air in the green room. And it didn't matter how they were, crazy, wild, conservative, it didn't matter. The ones who were the same behind the scenes as they were on air, because you can't fake authenticity, and they stayed to their mission, all those things on air, for better or worse. Those are the ones that lasted. And over the years, I would hear from my own teams, my own employees, amazing leaders, even in our company, as we built to 1,000 employees. So many times they would send me stuff that a competitor was doing, or a big trend that was happening in the marketplace. And listen, I think it's important to be aware of all that. But what I would tell them over and over, to the point where they could repeat these words without me there, is I would say our biggest threat to our business and our success isn't the competition. It's not what the competition's doing. It's the risk of us getting distracted by it and getting tempted to have it impact and dilute our own secret sauce and our own authenticity, right? And we kept I would disappoint buyers because they want us to do a big trend so they make more money in their stores. And I would say no. And I don't like to say, I'm a people pleaser growing up, but I learned how to say no because I knew, and disappoint them because I knew if I start doing what's trendy that's not aligned with our mission, just to make short-term money or to react in the moment or hit our numbers for the quarter or whatever it was, that's the start of disintegrating customer trust, brand loyalty, authenticity, all those things. And, I would say right now, I know everyone's really stressed out about how do I pivot? How do I do all these things? Everything's changing. I think it is more important than ever to do the work of getting still, listening feeling it, like going deep down inside of what you're called to do and the mission that you're on. And then making the decision to weed out the temptation to do pivots that aren't aligned with that just because they're working for someone else or they're a trend or your friend said, oh my gosh, you got to do that, whatever. It's like, no, your gut is always more powerful than anyone else's advice. And so that's what I would say is a really big practical thing that's important, no matter if you're an entrepreneur or a creator, or you're someone that just really wants to start a blog, or or you're being forced to pivot, even if you're forced to pivot and you don't know what you're going to do, right? It's still so critical because you don't want to miss out on becoming the person you're born to be. And it's still so critical to get that through line of authenticity and listening to your gut and what you're called to do before you make your next decision and your next steps and reacting to all of it.
So good. What a great way to finish, Jamie. That was amazing. Great advice.
I can't, seriously. By the way, I've never heard anyone put it together like that and such a through line. And I think that it's so true. And I just want to call out one thing that you said too. Every single person listening right now, it is so easy for us to see our setbacks and our hard times and our things where we feel like we're not enough, or we didn't go to the right, job, or we don't come from the right family, or we don't come from the right zip code, or any of those things. It's so easy, to think that, okay, so here's what I'm destined to do. And again, it's wild, the power of, because I believe everyone has a calling. I believe everyone has more than one purpose in their life. And I feel like the things we go through, and by the way, let me just be real honest with you. You want me to be really honest? I didn't even connect the dots until just now with you about the diet shakes. I've never shared the stories I share in this book. I've 95% of them I've never shared with anyone ever, right? My family's going to be like, you're drinking diet shakes in the bathroom in school, right? So this is a lot of it feels so vulnerable. But until you just said this right now, Tom, I didn't even put the dots together of that. When I was sitting there drinking diet shakes in the bathroom, it's because I didn't feel like I was enough. And I felt like, oh, if I can just be this size, I'll be happy, or I'll be loved, right? Those are the things that we don't even realize we're thinking in those moments. But those things we go through, whatever those hard times are in different forms, right? It's like, oh, wow. They actually, if we do pay attention, they can become our message, our mission, our superpower, right? But I'm putting two and two together live with you right now. And I do a lot of this in the book, but never on that one moment. And I just want to share it in case someone else out there needs to hear this right now, that if we really pay attention to everything we've gone through, and it sets us up for what we're called to do. Even when we think it's stuff we're embarrassed about or want to hide, or we're ashamed of, or we're ashamed that something happened in our family, or that we made a big mistake in our lives or had a big misjudgment. Those things can truly, if we pay attention to them, not only help us refine our intuition, but literally turn into our superpower, right? And when I think about the journey, because the beauty industry is crowded, there's a million brands. And when I entered that space, it was impossible to get department store floor space because it was dominated by all the big companies. And, it's like, sometimes we have an idea or a dream, and it's very easy just for that simple fact of saying, oh, it's been done before. There's a million other people doing it before. And hearing you talk live now too, one of the things I'm reminded of is every single person in your whole audience, in the world, frankly, nobody can do it the way you're going to do it if you live your truth. And when I think about the decisions along the way of when all the department stores told me no, when everyone said, you're not the right fit, you're not this, you're not that, I'm also realizing live with you right now that you're right. In the bathroom, I've never had this conversation with anyone, by the way. In the bathroom, drinking those diet shakes, I understood at a deep level of pain, the idea of not enoughness. I also understood the power of community, of understanding and seeing the light in other women. In that case, it was girls. We were young, seeing the light and the beauty in other girls when they're not seeing it themselves, but still not seeing it in myself, and having that understanding, right? And that through line then all the way through the investor telling me, you know, women, I don't believe women will buy makeup for something that looks like you, your body and your weight. It's like going all the way through that. By that point, when he told me that, I had a lot more life experience. I made a lot more mistakes, and I could actually hear my own gut tell me he's wrong. And I made the decision to trust myself, right? So, you know, it would be a lot longer before we finally got a shot on QVC, and a lot more no's after that investor still. And it's hard in life when nothing around us tells us we're right. You know, it's hard to then listen to that gut and keep going. But for me, it's everything. It's everything. And to use your wife Lisa's example, you know, I think we all have it, but maybe it's a superpower to actually learn to hear it and to trust it and to trust ourselves. You know, for me, it's life's greatest journey. For me, it's how we all step into the person we're born to be versus talk ourselves out of ever becoming that person.
Yes.
You know, because a lot of people, we talk about dreaming big today. And I feel like a lot of people have these reasons they think they're not quite ready to dream big yet. And maybe they think they don't have the right support around them, or they don't have the right setup on their computer, or they don't have the right team they've hired, or they don't, all these things. And I think part of you showing and me showing, hopefully both of us, all the real stuff. It's like, oh, you don't always need to have all that stuff together to start or to dream big and to start having that vision. That's a big vision for where you're going while enjoying the moment.
People, I love that. Big vision for where you're going while enjoying the moment, and knowing that 100% of success stories you have ever heard, that success story began with somebody going 90 miles an hour and putting the wheels on as they were going and building the thing. They endured years of mess and disorganization and trying to figure out and doubt and risk of failure on the precipice daily. And you don't get that easy path when you want to do great things. Yeah. It's difficult. Les Brown always said, I love Les Brown. Les has been on our stages. Les is a personal development legend. I hope you know who he is. Les Brown always said, he's like, if you want your life to be easy, do hard things. If you want your life to be hard, do easy things. And it just says, it's like, oh, you have to push. You have to struggle. Here's what I want everyone to know. Thinking big today. This is my message to you. And thinking big. You are clueless to the depths of your capabilities. You have no idea what you are capable of. You have no idea what your full potential is. And I'm not judgment. I don't know either. Like, there's one guy up there. For me, I'm a spiritual person, so God's got me. God knows the immensity of the soul he put into this body, and no one else does, including me. I have no idea the immensity of the challenges God's got lined up for me 5 years from now, or 10 or 3 or 4 minutes. Like, you don't know. But what you do know is you're going to arrive and you will be summoned to call your best forth to serve one day. You will be summoned to rise above your own little insecurities and comforts and joys and ask, wow, how can I get more out of myself to be of service in this moment? Whether that is your first 2 years with a new baby, and you're like, my eyes, I haven't slept, you know? Or it's that first 4 years of your startup. It's going to demand so much of you, but you will rise to it. You will be capable. You will learn as you go. So stop all the waiting, get in the game, put the wheels on as you're going, move towards that dream with more rapidness, because you'll figure it out as you go. It won't be perfect. Jamie said, you're so vulnerable. Yet the other day you said to me, I feel like never in my life, Brendan, have I dropped more balls, I think you were saying.
And right now.
Yeah, tell them about that, because you're thinking big, but she's built $1 billion business. And right now, even after having that experience, she feels like this is life, y'all. Anyway,
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
tell about that.
I think, you know, when I think back to the early days of building It Cosmetics, there were years of I didn't know what I didn't know, right? And I was trying to do every job in my living room because I couldn't afford to hire anybody. And I think anytime we're also doing something new or dreaming big and trying to go to new levels, just the newness of all of it is overwhelming, right? Because we don't know what we don't know. And so, you know, at the end of a 10-year journey with that, building over 1,000 employees and $1 billion company and all that, I knew a lot about the beauty industry and about manufacturing and legal and acquisitions and building a team and leadership and all those things, right? And now, as a first-time author, I
The whole
actually
new game.
feel a whole new game. I feel like literally I'm back in my living room, not knowing what I don't know, right? And it's a growth, a major season of growth for me. And you know, you and I, Brendan, talk a lot about just the idea of being a lifelong student. And you know, I'm proud to be a lifetime student, and I'm honored to learn from everyone in our community right now who's posting in the comments and posting in Facebook and posting in Instagram. I'm part of the Growth Day Morning Show. We learn from each other. I learn from all the other Growth Day coaches. And I'm in a season right now of going, okay, because for the last 5 years, I've been offered book deals because of my story, but I didn't want to have a ghostwriter do it. So I said no for 5 years. I wanted, because I have learned in my life, like, you cannot fake authenticity. And, you know, one of the things I talk about in the book a lot actually is how, you know, authenticity alone doesn't guarantee success, but inauthenticity guarantees failure. And that's in everything, right? And I talk about all the lessons I've learned around that in the book. But then for me to have that book actually truly serve at the highest possible level, I wanted to write every word myself. I knew it had to be authentic. So this has been 2 years, actually, a year and a half, little over a year and a half of growth and of dropping so many balls and,
learning
you
new
know,
things, messing it
learning
up,
new things.
trying to get into it.
Exactly. Yeah. Like you saw me when I got the first cover in, I was cutting it out and taping it to Jay Shetty's book because it was the right size. Every little thing I'm like trying to figure it out and because I want it to be authentic and I want it to be right and I want to have no regrets. But yeah, I am dropping balls everywhere in terms of, I mean, last night I was up all night writing web copy, writing because I want it to be authentic to like the heart and soul of how I want to serve. And I'm doing a big launch event, which we'll talk about later. Because it's still top secret, but we're going to tell everyone on Growth Day first. But
she's doing it big. She's going for it. Listen, she decided to write a book. And she had, I want everyone, I know some of you are thinking about writing a book or launching something new. When she said, I'm going to write a book, she said, I want it to be a bestseller. I want it to really impact millions of people. I want it to be a New York Times bestseller. I want to really get it out there. Even though, please listen, she'd never written a book, had no idea how to write a book, and had zero idea how to promote something.
Yeah.
Her confidence in thinking big came from her belief in her ability to figure things out. She's like, I'll figure it out. So your big vision should not be limited by today's skill set or today's competency. Your big vision should be based on your service you want to give, your dream you want to live with your family. And you will develop the skills along the way as you get in motion towards the thing. You don't start the journey perfect. The definition of perfection is to perfect. To perfect requires that you start. You start something, release something, launch something, and you perfect as you go. Perfect is a verb. It is done to something that is out there, that is released, that is built to perfect. And so you don't start perfect, you perfect. And then as soon as you go, oh, okay, we're going to start this Growth Day morning show. We don't know how to plug it into Instagram or Facebook. We don't know how to use an outwork mic, these mics. We don't know what the heck we're doing. Our first 4 days, we were just perfecting how to do that little piece. We still are. I think that's so important. And Jamie, I want to give you credit because sometimes you feel like you're dropping so many balls because you're so good at what you're doing in every other area, but you're also doing awesome and you're getting great momentum and I'm proud of you.
Thank you. Yeah. And I'm just trying to be brave and I'm trying to, and this, you know, this is something, that I think is huge too is you know, we often talk about when, you know, I have a whole journey of hearing no for years, right? Experts telling me my vision wasn't going to work for It Cosmetics and all those kind of things. But I still believe that it's our own self-doubt that kills more dreams than almost anything else. It's our own kind of limitations that we put on ourselves, or our own reasons we give ourselves why we need to still wait to do something, or we're not quite ready to write the book, or any of those things, right? And I get why, because doing it all and putting ourselves out there is scary. And sometimes it's easier to not dream big, because then we don't have to be afraid of not hitting that mark, or we stay in our comfort zone, right? But I think that I think to recap what you said in the start of this, which is so good, it's so good, is until we like take those chains off we put on ourselves, we don't know how much we're capable of. We don't know the level we're capable of dreaming and serving and giving and creating and ideating and inspiring, right? And leading and all of those things. And I think that, you know,
and the level of discipline you're all capable of. The level of, so Jamie's in what we call a launch window. So for those who are new, Jamie is launching a book called Believe It, and it comes out next month. I hope that you will pre-order on Amazon. It's called Believe It by Jamie Kern Lima. Comes out next month. She's in this time we call a launch window. A launch window is when your life becomes very like deep work, essentialism, high performance habits. You are doing this thing. A lot of balls are following all over there because you have this limited amount of time to launch this thing. And until you've been through that several times, you don't know how much you can get done. I'll give you an example of thinking big. This month, if you told me, okay, Brendan, in 1 month, listen to y'all, in 1 month, rebranded the company, onboarded 20 plus people and teams from outsourcing and internal all around, launched a new offering, you know, brought in all our new growth coaches, you know, in other words, found like 8 other new promotional partners and friends to serve, built a new software team, building the software, serving all of our customers without missing too many beats, launching a new community platform, launching this show, and somehow enjoying the month. If you told Brendan, 19-year-old Brendan, that was, he was like, I don't know how to hire. I don't know what a brand is. I don't know what a company is. What is it? Like, if you told your former self that, or your future self, I should say, you don't know what you're capable of. And I'm not saying that to be like, oh, look at me, because I've been feel like I'm putting the wheels on as I'm going. But I said, okay, let's just get in motion. We're going to figure it out. We're going to go. It's crunch time. Let's go. Let's move things forward. Move things forward. Move things forward. You will perfect as you go. But no way could I imagine that we could do all of this in a single month until you go for it, guys. You got to go for your dreams. Thinking big means moving big, taking big action, taking daily, you might call it small actions, but those daily small actions compound. You got to get in the game. Some of you, it's so easy to sit it out and you're still waiting for someone's approval or someone's understanding. It's like, if no one understands, if you feel like no one understands you, you have no one to blame but you. We have to learn. And I don't say that judgmentally, I had to learn to communicate. I sucked at communicating. I felt like I didn't have connection with people because I didn't know how to communicate. Be vulnerable, share emotions, like create human, like good friendships. I didn't know how to do that. So I did like a lot of you personal growth lovers who read How to Win Friends and Influence People from Dale Carnegie. Anyone read that? Oh my God, changed my life.
Yeah, I need to reread it. I read it like 20 years ago.
So good.
Yeah.
That's a classic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
so
I did that because I was terrible with people. And so now I communicate to millions of people daily. So if you told that really awkward dude, oh, you're going to talk to millions of people, you didn't believe it. But as you jump into the dream and you get momentum, you start to believe it more. You get more skills, more capabilities. Those capabilities lead to competency. That competency leads to confidence, and you're moving. I don't know.
Yeah.
Jamie, I'm
And not
fired
only
up
do you
today.
talk to millions of people, you train other incredible teams. I know I always bring up Oprah's team on the show, who I know you've trained, but you train so many people how to do it also. So it's like, not only do you do it now, you also are like one of the top people in the world at helping some of the top people in the world do it themselves. So it's pretty remarkable. And one thing I want to share, because I'm reading the comments, a lot of people saying, oh, it's hard to unchain ourselves. It's hard to start. It's hard to start when we don't know if our idea is good enough, or we don't know if our dream is right, and all that kind of thing. And one thing you just said that I just want to call out, because I think it's really important, is that sometimes people do cheer for you after you've made it. And I want to call this out, okay?
Yes,
because
so true.
I've lived through this. I have lived through this, okay? I have so many stories, and that's why. So everyone writing a book, it's like it is the greatest joy to go, oh my gosh, if people knew I went through all this, they would feel less alone. They would feel like they can get through it too, because this is the real stuff that happens. But there were so many people that did not cheer for me until after my company was a success, or after we were splashed in all the magazines, or after. And often when they start cheering for you, then it's in the form of, I always knew that you would make it, or I'm so proud of you. I've been rooting for you from the beginning. You're like, no, you were. But it's okay, right? I think it's
Right.
or they're like, they're telling people how they know you, and it's wild to watch this. And it's not that they mean harm. Here's what when I've peeled back the layers on this, there's a couple lessons here I want to share with anyone, especially if they're scared to start, if they're scared to take that jump, if they're scared to dream big and call their shot and go for it and all of that. Because what we start to do, I think, as humans, is we share our dreams or our ideas with the people around us. Sometimes we share them in groups. And then sometimes we share them with experts, or with, people in our industry that have had a lot of success or whatever. And then when we don't get the kind of response we're hoping for, right? Then we start to doubt ourselves, and we start to think we're not ready, or we think, oh, you know what? A million other people have done this idea. Like, maybe I shouldn't do it. It's already been done so many other times. So here's the big thing I've learned, okay, is, first of all, as we know, the only way to ever have a human connection is to show up authentically, right? And that can be with your partner, with a friend, with your customers online, with what you're doing, right? With how you're launching your dream. So just to take a step back, if you are doing something authentically, right, your dream. So in my case, there's 1 million beauty companies out there, and I launched a beauty company. Well, there's millions of them. Someone had already done it. Millions of people had already done it, right? But when you do something authentically, no one can do it the way you're doing it, right? So by definition, what you're doing is novel. By definition, it's never been done before. And here's what I've learned. Other people, typically, even experts, even visionaries, they typically can't imagine something being successful unless subconsciously they've already seen proof that it's already been done and it's already been successful.
Yes.
But because you're doing it authentically to you, it's never been done before. So don't be surprised when the people around you who love you, or the experts you have so much respect for, don't initially give you the reaction to your big dream or your big idea. It's because no one's done it the way you're going to do it. So it's never been done before. It's novel, it's new, right? And most people would never admit this, but unless subconsciously they've seen it that way and they've seen it succeed, they're not going to believe that it will. So
except people who have done it themselves. And like you and I believe in people. We believe in you guys so much because when you meet people who came from nothing and they built it and they did it, they're the ones who usually are on board. Like, sounds like, go for it. Don't know if it's going to work, but cheer them on, encourage it. Like, people who've actually done it are the most encouraging. Yes.
Yeah. And we've gone through the journey of hearing thousands of people not believe in us. And then when you come out of the other side of that, you're like, and you have a whole new perspective, right? But the truth is, I mean, in my own journey, for example, as it pertains to building the company, I also learned years later, the hard way, after crying myself to sleep a lot of nights, after hearing a lot of no's, I learned, oh, wait, most of the beauty retailers, They're amazing and they're great. And they all said no to me for years, but they've also never actually built anything themselves.
Yes.
Right. And it's like, oh, and to your point, that's why I'm so passionate about Growth Day and supporting it however I can, but also this morning show, right? Because it's like when you surround yourself with people that are in that space that share these kind of stories, then you're like, oh, okay, I get it that like Aunt Margie said that she didn't think this was going to be a success, but you know, that's okay. She loves me anyway, and she's never built something like this. So she's seeing it through the best lens she knows how, but I'm not going to let that penetrate me or me calling my shot, me going for my dream, me dreaming big, right? So I want to share that to you this morning.
Ladies and gentlemen, rock this house and welcome to the stage, Jamie Kern Lima! Jamie Kern Lima!
Every single one of us has had someone tell us we're not enough. Every single one of us has had someone say words to us that hurt.